The one thing I think that liberals, whether you're, a super progressive or you're more moderate, the one thing we can all agree on, right, is that we hate Joe Manchin. Except, of course, for the people in West Virginia. If I told you right now that Joe Manchin is now actually one of the most popular senators in the United States, you'd probably think that I'm a crackpot. But unfortunately, I'm not. And unfortunately, that statement is true. In the past year, Joe Manchin's popularity has soared by 17 points in his home state of West Virginia. He is, of course, as I said, now one of the most popular senators in the United States. He is in the top 5. And I'm not talking about most popular nationwide. Of course, I am only talking about popular in their own state. Manchin has a 57% approval rating in his home state. It has increased in the last year among, of course, Republicans and independents, however. It has, of course, fallen with Democrats. They do not approve of him as much as they used to. But overall, he's sitting there at number 5 in the top 5 most popular senators in the United States. And this is something I've been trying to stress to people for a very long time. I despise Joe Manchin. All these other people that do what I'm doing here, we all despise Joe Manchin. We all love a good take down Joe Manchin piece. None of us, however, are in West Virginia, right? We're doing it from Florida, from Georgia, New York, Oregon, Ohio, Michigan, California. None of us are doing this from West Virginia. None of us are on the ground in West Virginia seeing how those people are reacting to Joe Manchin's obstructionism. And yes, folks, I'm sorry, but that does make a difference, and we're all guilty of it. Of course, we can't be everywhere at once. That's not our fault. But we also have to stop and take a moment to realize that just because we despise somebody, just because we think they're terrible, doesn't mean that they don't have some kind of reason why they're doing these things. And it is once we start to learn those reasons, once we start to kind of get into the heads of these voters in places like West Virginia, once we start looking into that, that's when we can make headway in those areas. That's why polls like this, to me, are so important. Because we have to take a deep dive into those states. We can't just write them off. Not to mention, as long as there's money in politics, people like Manchin and Sinema, of course, are going to be corrupted. The difference is Sinema is universally hated by her voters, right? She is one of the least popular senators in the United States now. The least popular overall in their home state, by the way, is Mitch McConnell. So, a little food for thought there. But Sinema does the same thing Manchin does, and Sinema's hated, but Manchin is loved. Why is that? See, those are the questions that the Democratic Party needs to look into. Why? Why can two people from two places do the same things? One of them pays a price for it, the other one doesn't. Voters' attitudes, folks, change from state border to state border, okay? We have to learn that, we have to accept that, and we have to understand why that is so that we can be more successful in future elections. You're probably always going to have Joe Manchins. That is an unfortunate truth in American politics. But if we can crack that code with those voters, if we can figure out how to make them turn against these people like Joe Manchin, the way that they have against Sinema, that's the key. You don't necessarily have to change the minds of the voters. You have to learn how to talk to them. You have to learn how to approach them. You have to understand their wants and their needs. Every state is different, okay? There's not a one-size-fits-all candidate that everybody in this country, or even everybody on the Democratic side, is going to approve of or want in office. Accept that, understand it, and once you finally get that into your head, that's when we can move forward and start addressing the problems we have with people like Joe Manchin, but taking it to the voters instead of trying to change him. This is Hattie. Hattie wants to know why you have not subscribed to our channel. You obviously like our videos, so do us a favor and subscribe.